Make no mistake, tonight, together, we made history in this election.
Well, wasn't that something? I mean, normally I would feel bad about not being able to foresee this kind of election night result, but it seemed to have come as a complete surprise to the Liberals and to the Premier.
Well, and I think to some extent, maybe even the Tories. Only the most optimistic Tories would have seen them winning 31 seats. I think that there was a belief that there was a path not only to a win, but possibly to a majority. But this level really showed just how disciplined and efficient this campaign was, because when you look at the vote share, they're actually not that much farther ahead of the Liberals. And yet when you look at the seat count, they are miles ahead.
So the good news for the Conservatives is they move from the opposition benches into government. The bad news is now they have to actually own their promises, and the big one is fixing healthcare, something that has eluded past governments since I've been covering Province House.
Well, and Tim Houston hedged his promise to some degree, saying this is going to take time, it's going to cost a lot of money, but we're committed to doing it. And now we will see whether or not, as you say, they can do what their predecessors have been unable to do. My big takeaway, at least in the case of the Liberals, is they really need to have a bit of a reckoning here, because given the amount of surprise there was with this result, one has to wonder, was it a case of A, the campaign was just so poorly run that they didn't see this coming, or B, were all of these people who were giving them positive feedback on the doorstep simply being kind?
I am surprised. I did feel that we, no matter where I went in the province, really, everyone came out to me saying that they were very optimistic about the future and how we were dealing with things. But I've only been Premier for a short time.
Although the Liberal leader said last night unequivocally that he plans to stick around, it's not really just Ian Rankin's decision. Because the Liberals lost in their constitution, there is an automatic review of the leadership, and whether or not he is able to survive that in the coming year, well, we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, and I think that the situation is the same when it comes to the NDP. They had real high hopes going into last night. I think they legitimately thought there were 8 to 10 seats for them to win. In fairness to them, there were some very close second places, but second place does not get you into the legislature. And given the momentum they seem to have through the campaign on the issue of rent control in particular, the fact that they weren't able to convert that into significant gains, and once again sitting as a third place party in a majority legislature, is surely going to force them to evaluate whether or not what they're doing is the way that they ought to continue.
And whether it's enough, right? I guess the last takeaway I would have is the makeup of the House is going to be markedly different. You're going to have 4 black members.
That's an all-time record.
And that's a good thing. And Ali Diwali, I believe, will become the first Muslim to ever sit in the House of Assembly. So it changes the flavor, and I think it shows that we are progressing as a province. The good news, Mr. Houston, is you won. The bad news is you won. You got to work even harder.